AM 970 WSTX.
Good morning and welcome to WSTX, the Virgin
Thank you.
Islands community-minded station. All right, and let's get right into it. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Alrighty. I am Angela Golden Bryan. And you know what? I should probably get some parameters from you because then you'll be the one just trying to drink water as I'm talking. You know?
No. We're going to make it work. Just a short introduction, and I have a couple of questions for you that will take us into the discussion.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, Angela Golden Bryan grew up in WIM and currently living in South Florida with my husband and adult kids. They're in Florida also, but they're off doing their own thing. And I'm enjoying being an empty nester right now and doing things that I love doing.
All right. Fantastic. All right. Well, you're an author. And I've learned in my short time in this world that authors come in all type of different varieties. For instance, you have those people who, from the time they were born, they searched out a pencil and started writing. And then you have some folks, later in life get an epiphany and, hey, I need to write. So tell us a little bit about your journey into writing. Thank you.
Okay, well, for me, in school, my mother, Martha Golden, she used to teach at Claudio Marco way back when. And she was always pushing me and my brother to strive for excellence in writing and reading, arithmetic, everything. And so from an early age, she noticed that I was a really good writer, but I never really pursued anything formally. Over the years, I started submitting short articles to devotional magazines, Enlighten the Word, Vista, internationally published devotionals. But for me, it was on my bucket list to write a book, but I never really considered myself an author. Fast forward a little bit, I was in a Toastmasters class, international speaking. I needed a story, and I started thinking about, my family history and the Caribbean history, and I was like, you know what? Let me talk about Fireburn. That would be a good one. Fast forward even further, as an actress, our acting coaches or my acting coaches would always say, you need to have material. You need to be practicing your craft. And so as I looked at a lot of the available screenplays and information out there, a lot of them, it just didn't work for me. The description would be blonde hair, blue eyes, and, 20 years old and everything. And I'm like, okay, that's not quite me, is it? So why don't I create something that me and my friends could act in? And that's how book here got started.
All right. Looks like the internet was giving us a little challenge there. We got a couple of freezes. So come on, internet, behave. Don't act up on us here today. And you doing Fireburn, I'm letting you know it'll have Jumbi in this place. Okay? Sometimes I come in here and it's like I turn on the equipment to get moving and going and everything else, and it just don't want to work. And it's like, I'm the first one in the week here. What happened over the weekend? The Jumbi were having a party.
I'm taking that as a really good sign.
Good or bad?
All right. So tell us about this book that you've written.
All right. Well, as I mentioned, I started off writing it as something that could be performed. So the format of the book is a bit different than what most people might expect. Originally, I created the screenplay for the sake of having something to act in. And as it sat, I said, you know what? A few of my friends said, Angela, you know what? You really should have written this as a book first and then turned it into a screenplay. So that's what made me sit, because the idea of turning something that I'd already I started this in 2011, something that I had been working on for so long, now turning it into a book. And then I said, well, maybe I can get a ghostwriter. So I talked to like 3 different people to do this here. Everyone said it's a great story, but can't touch it. It's too much work. And so finally I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and publish it as a screenplay. And so although it's written in screenplay format, it doesn't follow the traditional Hollywood screenplay, because I have some pictures in here. I have acknowledgments. I have a forward. You're not going to find that on a traditional screenplay. So I wanted it to look like a book for the masses who aren't familiar with reading a screenplay, but enough like a screenplay for those Hollywood producers, from my mouth to God's ears.
All right. Yeah, I just getting ready to say please let me come to the debut. Send me some tickets, something.
Absolutely.
All right, let's upstage
absolutely.
Hamilton.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's
Doc,
what I'm talking about.
could I chime in
Uh,
here for a
yeah.
second?
Yeah. What was yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So to make it relatable to the masses, as well as familiar enough to producers and people in the entertainment industry that they would pick it up and see the value immediately.
All right. Well, I have a co-host here with me today. His name is Jared Evelyn, and he's listening to your voice, and he's entranced over there. So I hope you have your bodyguard close by. No, I'm just joking. He has very special talents in his ears, and he's listening, and he is interested in the book, and so Jared, you take it.
Hi, good
Hi.
morning.
Good morning, Jared.
Okay, I wanted to find out. Have you ever heard about the NLS service for the blind, the physically handicapped?
No, but you know what? Let me get my pencil because it sounds like something that's extremely important
National
because
Library
no
Yeah,
one
Service.
should
it's a
be
national
excluded.
Yes,
And okay.
NLS. It's a National Library Service for the blind and physically handicapped.
Oh, okay.
Because the reason why I'm, asking about that is because your book sounds very interesting, and it would be nice to have it published or recorded in the NLS Talking Book Library,
Yes, I agree.
and
I agree.
that way myself, who is here in the islands, can get a copy to read, and
Yes,
others, like myself, who uses the library down here.
Yeah, well,
absolutely.
Angela, one of the things that we're working on in the long run is to make more authors of Caribbean content aware of the National Library Service and to get their material in there. Because culturally and in other ways, as a matter of appreciation, if it's not available to be read or in this case heard,
Yes.
and also, it is very beneficial in the schools because the schools usually partner with the Talking Books Library. And
Wow.
so students who may suffer, let's say, from dyslexia or whatever, have another means by which they can access material and, definitely do that book report without it taking a whole week. It takes much less time because they don't have to fight through the particular disability that they may be having to deal with.
Absolutely.
Yes, so definitely.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that. I have heard this several times, and it wasn't with regards to being blind, but it was more to my friends that have ADD,
Uh-huh.
low attention span. They say, Angela, I'm going to buy your book, but I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not going to read it. And they said, I just don't have the attention span to sit there and read, even though you have promised me that it's a quick read and it's short and it's entertaining. I'm not going to read it. And so my mind started thinking I needed to do that. But now what Jared what he just said, it makes it even more important for me to take action on that. Thank you so much.
Yes,
You're
you have a
welcome.
whole audience
Yes.
out there, a whole audience,
Yes.
a whole another audience just waiting in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because me being visually impaired, I still like to read. So and I
Yeah.
love interesting books, and your book, just by the way you introduced it, it sounds like it's gonna be a good read.
Angela, he's being modest. Or visually impaired. The man blind. Okay? Not only that, but he has, I call it, conquered this condition in such a way that it got people accusing him of pretending to be. Okay? So
Excellent.
every now and then he teaches me about how to use my iPhone. Okay? So.
Okay. That's awesome. That is
All
awesome.
right. Yes. So it's.
Well, I'm taking this very seriously, and I believe that it is a book that lends very well to this format. You just think of the olden days on the radio station when there were the plays and they were being read.
Yes,
And
we
I'm
were
thinking
talking about that.
exactly, yeah. I'm thinking that this would be best done in St. Croix with Crucian actors and readers and recorded there with some Crucian actors. I would like to come back and do that.
Well, you know, one of the things my son has to do book reports and stuff like that. So my strategy is that if he can listen to the book while he's playing or doing other things, you know, it's there. It's just like the TV, except it's oral.
Exactly.
And this is something I would recommend to all parents in that context, because sometimes for those children that see reading as a chore, something I have to do because I have an assignment, but
Yes.
if it becomes part of the background environment, they don't even realize, and it's coming right in, and then they get the questions and they can answer the questions. They don't even realize where they learned it from.
Exactly. And then we're going back to another tradition that is kind of dying, and that's the tradition of storytelling.
Oh.
Yeah, I just remember my grandmothers, telling me stories. My aunts, it was about stories, but so much now is about technology and getting on the iPhone and playing the games and everything. So having it in audio, it's back to that story format and feeding that. I think it's in our DNA, the desire to hear stories.
All right. Well, along those lines, I have a YouTube channel, Douglas Canton, and there you can find some videos called Folk Tales and Tales of Folk.
All
And
right.
we have some of our notables, Doc Peterson, Bolly Peterson, and Asta, all doing storytelling. And we got some
Nice.
fantastic Jumbie story in there.
Yes.
Okay, so seeing as you're quite a ways away from here. By the way, where are you?
I am in a little town called Weston, which is between Fort Lauderdale and Miami. So I'm up against the Everglades in Florida. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
all right. So
you
that
Gator country.
yeah, Gator country almost. Yeah,
Oh yeah. In my backyard.
in your backyard.
Yeah,
Yes.
I visit Orlando and Miami
Okay.
sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, I love Orlando. It's about
Yeah.
3.5 hours north of where I am. Absolutely love Orlando.
All right, fantastic. So when last you been home?
I was home in April for a wedding, and I'm anticipating coming very shortly for some book signings and hanging out and giving out T-shirts and selling T-shirts, and I'm
All
super
right.
excited. So I'm waiting for the opportune time, because I know that although Christmas could be a good time, people are so busy with everything else. So
Yes. Well, you
yeah, just
know,
a lot.
you kind of missed an excellent opportunity.
Which
Um,
was?
you kind of missed an excellent opportunity in the way of Starving Artist Day here
Oh
at
man.
yes.
Oh,
And I'm saying, even if you come before that, put that on your calendar for next year. That's a
starving
great,
artist.
yes,
Okay.
that's a great opportunity. It's on the Whim Great House grounds there.
Okay.
And it's outdoors. Everybody has their little vendor's tent or tents or whatever, and there's everything: books,
Wow.
food, woodworking, all types of stuff. And Miss, I was there. I did a little interview there with Mr. Richard Schroeder.
Yes.
Yes, and
I have his books, some of his books.
yes, well, anybody who doesn't, it's like they need to be chastised, because it's like, wow, that's like gold.
Yes.
Someone got their book and got it signed and said, well, you could give it to me so I can discover 20 years from now that it's worth $50,000, and we all had a good laugh. But yes,
Oh, man.
definitely. And keep in touch so that we can help to promote your and other local artists who are away, coming back home, so to
Yes.
make sure that it gets to everyone and you can have the great response that I know that there is in our community.
Thank you. I will.
All right, fantastic. So, uh, talk about the book a little bit, Fireburn. I mean, everybody think they know Fireburn, but there's always little things that come out depending on the style of the author and so forth and so on. So you've got that one under your belt. Been thinking about the next venture?
Well, the next venture is really to have it as a movie. Absolutely.
All right.
And now and obviously as an audiobook, that's up there, as well as a children's book, because with this book, I did consult with a screenwriter, and at first I had everything la 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 kumbaya, we love everybody, and the screenwriter was like, wait a minute, where's the conflict, where's the drama? I know it is my personality to have everything work out beautifully and everything, but is that the truth of this? There was conflict, there was drama, people died. And so in the adult version, well, actually it's really, I think it's appropriate for middle school and up. I kept it PG-13 intentionally, but people die. I don't get into it graphically. It's more of an inference. I inferred what was happening. But for the upcoming children's book, how do I take the themes that are predominant in Fireburn, the screenplay? There's standing up for what's right. There's empowerment of those that are disenfranchised. There's love of culture. There's history. There's a lot of food in here also.
And
So I anticipate, yes,
there's
yes,
value in you, and that's the one thing that in books like this and history, in many ways, it really needs to be. I wouldn't even use the word revise. It needs to be made more real to what really happened.
yeah,
Because sugarcoating it and fairy tailing it
hmm,
is okay to, as long as the essence of the truth can be found
exactly.
in along the lines. Yes.
Yep. So there's a rape scene in there. So I don't go into all the detail that would have happened in the rape.
Right.
It's more like, okay, you open the door and he's buckling his pants and she's putting down her skirt. That type.
Yeah.
So exactly what happened, but it's what happened.
Post Fireburn,
Uh-huh.
because we know some of the young ladies got arrested. Some of the
Yes.
people got arrested. In some cases, taken all the way to Denmark and imprisoned for a while before being released. Does it follow that far, or in the book?
Yes, it does. The book takes them up to Denmark, and then there's just a few lines of them, pulling weeds, hard labor in Denmark, and then they circle back around, coming back to St. Croix for what lies ahead, and it ends on that note right there. And then I do a little, hey, Fireburn is still, Contract Day is still celebrated on October 1st, blah, blah, so on and so forth. But yeah, it brings them up to that point of their trial and moves forward. So yeah, there is the big events like that. I tried to really hold true. Whereas, and I mentioned each of the four queens. I know it was Wayne James back in 2014 that had brought out, hey man, there are more than three queens. There are four. So I went with the four queens, and part of the fiction in this is that the four queens probably weren't friends. They probably didn't know each other, but for the sake of storytelling and to move the story along, I had them having relationships with each other. So those are the things that I would love to follow up on is the truth versus which was Hollywood, which were the things that happened in my family, things like that.
Well, the one thing that is great in all of this is that, friends or not, they bonded on a common cause.
Absolutely.
And that's something
Yes.
that we have to instill in our young people, that you're not going to
Yes.
get along with everybody, but there's certain things you stick together with because it's just
Yes.
the thing that you need to do. All right.
Absolutely.
All right.
Which is I'm seeing that as a very current theme in anti-bullying. So standing up for what's right, coming together, and so these are the types of things that I could even see it as in a children's book. Is how do we stand up for what's right together to do the right thing, and rather than in a children's book having someone being killed or raped or anything like that, take the themes, those universal truths, as Senate President Myron Jackson, as he goes back and fetches it, that's the comment that he made, is that although it's a fictional tribute to our ancestors, it holds universal truths that can be shared and allowed us to go back and fetch and to move forward in unity.
All right. So, tell me, how did you hear about Doug Canton, WSTX, and all this other good stuff?
All right. Yes. How did I hear about you? Well, it was through Undercover Books. as I started researching, I said, you know what? Yes, this book is available on Amazon.com, but how about locally? Not everyone cares to go through Amazon.com. And what about a tourist coming to St. Croix that would like a piece of artwork? Because I think the cover is beautiful, if I must say so myself, as well as a piece of our history. So I started contacting, and I found Undercover Books, and they were like, "Oh, well, you need to contact Doug." So that's how I found out about you.
All right, fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm happy that we were able to make the connection. Who did the
absolutely.
artwork?
Uh, I never met the individual. Her name is Allison Daigle, and
Hmm.
she was recommended to me by my not producer. Oh my gosh, publisher. Yes,
Hmm.
by my publisher, and she highly recommended her, and she said that she will not accept my money until I'm happy with the job. So what I did is I sent her pictures that my late uncle Nathaniel he had written, and people have seen his pictures in the Frederickstead post office hanging, Fireburn, and just various ones that he had given to my aunt as well that no one has seen. And I said, this is what I would the feel that I would like for the cover of the book, as well as I wanted the fort, the Frederickstead fort, to be. So I sent her pictures of the fort as well. And I would love to have gone with a local artist, but what happened at the time is my mom, Martha Golden, she had been diagnosed with cancer, and my book had sat since 2011. And now that I knew that my mom's time was coming to an end, I had started reaching out to people. Hey, who's a good artist? I ran out of time, and I knew that my mom was running out of time as well. And I said, this needs to be quick. I need to get this into my mother's hand before she passes. I did not reach that goal. The book was published after she passed, but I know that she received it, and she knew because I was keeping her in the loop along the way. She did get to see the book cover,
Hmm.
and she did get to see the screenplay, but not the finished work. So the book is dedicated to my mom, and she was, her transitioning towards the end was really what helped me to get it published, because I had this sense of urgency that it could not wait any longer.
All right, the story behind the story. I'm so glad you
Yeah.
shared that with us. All
Yes.
right, okay. But I have to do a little rewind here. I don't have my DJ equipment to do the sound, but um, okay, all right.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
The picture in the post office. You
Yes.
made a link, a connection there. You saying that family and you are tied together in that picture?
Yeah, Nathaniel Mack. That is my uncle, my paternal aunt's husband, and he was a wonderful, wonderful artist, and many people purchase his art, and I've seen that it's been pirated and just everything because people love it so much. But I'm not sure if it still hangs in the Frederickstead post office. I think it might. I know
Uh,
it hung there for
you
years.
need to hurry up and come back home.
I
You'll
do, I
be
do.
you'll be pleasantly surprised.
It's still there?
It's there, and it's an iconic part
It
of that
really
building.
is.
All right.
It
You gotta
really
show it to
is.
me, Doug.
That's funny. Very
He's always
descriptive.
doing that.
And what's beautiful about it is so often when an artist, whatever form of art they're utilizing,
Mhm.
is that they take their reality and their world and they put it into their art. And my aunt, his wife, is one of the figures up front. And whenever I look at it, I was like, I know that's my aunt. Maybe anyone else, but he it was a tribute to her as well as to our history, and such a passionate, wonderful event that forever changed the economy of our islands. And so I actually have it in my office as well,
Mhm.
and it's a beautiful, beautiful portrait.
Well, Jared picks up his mail there every day, but he,
Okay,
he need me to show it to him.
there you go. Yes, very, very deliberate and descriptive, and all of the fire and the passion. And what was interesting is I had originally uh, sent the artist that picture, and so one of the things that she had emulated was like the low cleavage and the sleevelessness and everything. And so when I was talking to Senator Myron Jackson, he says, you know what? that is not historically accurate. This was 1878. The woman would have been a lot more modest than that. They would not have done that, this. And so I salute my Uncle Mac, his desire for the sexiness and everything. That's more Hollywood, and that was his interpretation. But I said, you know what, for the cover, I'll go a little bit more historically accurate, even though if you'll notice one of the characters, she's a little sassier, and she's a little bit lower cleavage. Her skirt is a little higher up. And that was very much intentional because of the personality that I chose to have her have.
Way I look at it, they're rebelling. The last thing
There
they're
you
worrying
go.
about is how cute they look when they're rebelling.
Oh my gosh, I am not politically accurate. Oh my gosh. Too much cleavage.
All right. No.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that we connected, and I'm especially happy that some of the tidbits that I've gotten in the process. So, just as a recap, let's talk about this book. It's called
Fireburn, the Screenplay. And it's a story of passion ignited based on the history of St. Croix. And originally I was just going to leave it at Fireburn, but I felt like it was very important, along with the people that I consulted with, to let people know up front what they were getting into, to help eliminate maybe potential confusion or anger. Like, wait a minute, what am I reading here? This doesn't look like a regular book, but it's right on the front. Fireburn, the Screenplay.
Okay,
And
can I ask a question? Is it?
Pardon? I think so. Yeah.
Is it
Thank you.
Firebun or Fireburn? Which one?
It is Fireburn. I'm glad thanks, Jared, for asking that. I had thought about going with Fireburn, and I said, you know what?
Because you know Kujan, I say bun.
Exactly, Fireburn. Fiabun, Fireburn. And I went ahead and I said, let's go with Fireburn for this one. And even, looking at Richard Schrader's books and reading he's very rich with the vernacular and the slang.
Mm-hmm.
I intentionally only included little bits and pieces, not to deny the history and the beautiful, rich culture and flavor, but because this is a story that I believe needs to go beyond the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Right.
And so I don't think it's not going to be a sellout, but in terms of how do I make this more relatable for the masses so that our story.
You gave it your flavor.
Exactly. It's my flavor. And it's one that I am so serious about this going beyond, so that we can come back to the Virgin Islands, have it filmed in the Virgin Islands, bring money and jobs to the Virgin Islands. And then after it's filmed in the Virgin Islands, hey, from my mouth to God's ears, after it's filmed there and it becomes a wonderful film, then people are going to be coming, oh, this is where Fireburn, the Screenplay. So I'm looking fast forward into the future. How can this benefit, the territories? And so one of that is giving it definitely mass appeal, but not by no means leaving out the history or watering it down. But it was a choice that I did make when it came to the book, the title. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to when you come down here to do your book signing.
Absolutely.
And, since it's well on its way and launched, and also to be at some of our cultural events where you can have your book on display and also there for sale.
I'm looking forward to audition for the screenplay.
Oh, I was like, I want to pick your brains a little bit. I would love to pick your brains on for you what would make this an over the top wonderful audio production. Absolutely, because you would be listening to it. And the things that I'm imagining is that it's got to have the passion, it's got to have the feel, it's got to have the description.
Wait
but there
a minute.
may be things.
Is this Jared, the consultant that I'm hearing here now?
Yeah.
Absolutely, consultant. It was a request, so I know he's got some ideas.
All right.
It needs to be excellent if we're going to do it. Not if, since we're going to do it.
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you, and I sing his praises. He's a very modest guy. I sing his praises, but. I had to let some people know that blind people watch TV.
Okay.
Okay. And because we have some folks out there that thought of that as like heresy or something, And I'm saying like, no, they do. Okay. And And I say that because, Jared, I just want you to talk a little bit about your interaction with Netflix in particular and how Netflix accommodates you.
Oh yeah, Netflix. They brought out a whole category of um, movies and TV shows that actually have audio description by Caption Max.
Okay.
What it is like you will have the regular movie playing and everything is going on, people talking back and forth, and then you will see them stop talking, and then you would hear she went down
Wow.
the corridor, or
Okay.
a, a red Mercedes pulled up the driveway.
Yes.
Stuff like that, and like different actions that throughout the movie that would happen, when there's no actual verbal talking.
Okay.
And so it gives you a wider, a better perspective of what movie you're watching, without
Okay.
having somebody there next to you telling you, oh well, this happened, that happened. So it's
Wow.
it's something that the Congress made. It's a what do you call it? It's a law in Congress, but most of the
Nice.
networks have not implemented it yet.
Well, and Angela,
Nice.
I am so glad that we're recording all of this for posterity, okay?
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
I'm listening to Jared, and he's talking about after the scene, you would see on the screen that they say such and such and such, and I'm like, you would see on the screen, okay? And it just goes to the power of imagination,
Absolutely.
because, of course, those doubters would say, "How you see it?"
Imagination,
Oh yes, oh
Exactly.
yes, oh
Yeah.
yes. So
Well,
definitely.
just wow. Well, based on Jared, what you just described, this my book, it definitely lends well to that, because that's the whole thing about screenplay format, is so that the director knows what's happening. It's very descriptive, and it's separate from the dialogue. She walks down the dirt road as mud clings to her toes, and
Yeah.
so it's very, very visual in that respect. And many
So
people have told me that they can see it happening as they
so
as
that
they read it. So
so
I
that
would imagine as it's being read on my
yes.
upcoming audiobook, you'll be able
Uh-huh.
to see it
Well,
very, very
That'll
wonderfully.
make a wonderful
not only
audiobook.
that, not only that, but this movie will also be almost Netflix ready too.
There you go. Netflix is hot right now. So let me find out who I need to contact in Netflix.
All right, all right, all right. Well, yeah, okay.
Ah,
Well, Angela, this has been a wonderful encounter, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person. Looking
absolutely.
forward
Same
to
here.
reading the book,
Yes.
and hopefully to be lucky enough to get one of the front row seats at the premiere.
There you
All
go. There you
right,
go.
and
Yes.
when you make it even bigger than Hamilton and the limousine, I know that girl. I know her. And you're
Yes.
gonna go around bragging. All right, fantastic.
Uh,
Okay, so just want to talk a little bit about undercover books.
okay.
Okay, because one of the things that I try to do is to work with undercover books and anyone else, but I say that because they've reached out to me, and we're doing what we're doing here now because of my interaction with undercover books. So I'm happy to mention them and mention their role. And also, I believe on Saturdays they have readings where they
Ah,
invite young people in, and so they have story time, among other
nice.
things. So there's just a wealth of visual pleasure when you walk in there, when you see all the books, how the place is laid out, and everything. Jared could tell you, okay, he knows. But anyhow, that's my point there. I keep
Uh,
needling him all the time.
and I
We
have
we
been
have a
there.
good time.
And I have
It
been
sounds.
I
there.
know you've been there.
You see that? Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
they were
give.
wonderful. They were absolutely wonderful and receptive. And, I really appreciate the opportunity. And all of the books that I sent to them, I did autograph. So I know a lot of people like that. Some people it's like, oh, so what? But I did autograph
All
them.
right. Fantastic.
Mhm.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, I'll be looking forward to all the big happenings along the way, as well as whatever the next book is.
Yeah,
Definitely, we'll be talking about that when the time comes. All right?
absolutely. You got it.
And we're not going to let you off that easy. Yes, we have expectations from now.
Yes, indeed.
All
You know,
right.
that's
Well,
good. Holding me accountable. Absolutely.
we're thankful for the technology that allows us to have you here, even though you're there.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
we'll reduce it to video format and share that with you and with everyone else, so that make sure that this can go on beyond these minutes that we have here. Because, when I'm on the air, there are a lot of people who are at work that listen, but, when you're working, you got to pay attention. So give them the opportunity after the fact to be able to see and appreciate and interact with you,
Absolutely.
even though so much time has passed. So,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
right,
Thank
fantastic.
you.
And look forward to when you come back to St. Croix.
Absolutely.
Look
I will
forward to the
definitely let you
signing
know.
books, and we'll be here
Yes.
to help promote it and everything else.
I
So,
so appreciate it.
WSTX AM 970, your community minded station. If you don't know where, you can connect to us on the TuneIn app. Okay, so definitely anytime you feel that need, or I miss whom, I like listening to
Tune
the
in app.
12 on WSTX, and because I got to blow our horn here now. The fact of the matter is, when it comes to cultural music in the Virgin Islands, and you're looking for a radio station in Virgin Islands, and St. Croix's got it going on to
Yep.
WSTX. All right, so
Yep.
definitely all week long you can catch some calypso and Quelbe and everything else, and
Yep.
we have various talk shows also that go on through the week, just like mine. And there's always something interesting going on here. So when you get that little homesick feeling, just hit the tune in app and just do a search for 970 AM. And we'll be
970.
we'll
Okay.
be right there.
Yeah,
Well,
WSTX.
WSTX. I grew up with WSTX, and for me, that is one of the icons of St. Croix. That absolutely.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And they're still
Yes.
carrying the torch.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, all right. Okay. Well, we're going to look to run and carry on here. You've got the last word.
Wow. Well, thank you. It really is. Thanks. Thank you, Jared. Thank you,
You're
Doug.
welcome.
It's been my pleasure. I'm filled with gratitude. Thank you.
All right. Well, it was our pleasure. Look forward to the next time.
Alrighty. Take
All
care.
right.
Bye bye.
All right.
Fantastic. Have a
Bye-bye.
great day.
Have a great day.
You too.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.